Hi guys and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Happy Chirp. Today I have with me Hufsa Munawar, who happens to be a community manager at Google. How are you, Hufsa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Chalo, that's good. So it's interesting what you're doing. हमें पाकिस्तान में we don't get to hear a lot about women working in Google. अगर कभी किसी ने सुना भी है तो like it's just like nobody knows how they got there or what goes behind the scenes or what they actually do.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting to explore that with you and share that with people who don't know what that's like. So that's the thought behind this podcast that I want to do with you right now. But to get there and to understand that, I want to start with, how all this happened.
Yeah.
So let's talk about where you were born and raised and your early education a little bit.
Sure. So I've been all over Pakistan, I would say. I was born in Lahore.
Acha.
And then I moved to DG Khan, which is near Multan, because my dad was working for atomic energy, so we moved there as a family.
Acha.
I spent 8 years of my life there. Don't remember much, honestly speaking. Lekin acha time tha.
What age bracket was this? 8 years?
Right after being born. Till
Okay.
8 years. I remember कि मैं अपनी 8th birthday पे on 8th of April डीजी खान से इस्लामाबाद आई थी.
Wow.
So I celebrated my birthday. And then we stayed in Islamabad for a year. This was the time जब इस्लामाबाद में 9 बजे सब कुछ बंद हो जाता था, कुछ नहीं मिलता था. I-8 बहुत डिफरेंट लगता होता था. 1 साल के बाद moved to Lahore and then I spent a lot of time in my schooling in Lahore. So this was grade 3 से grade 10th तक.
Acha.
Yeah, so Lahore I think plays a major role in who I am as a person as well. वहाँ पे I did my schooling, O-levels किया. O-levels के बीच में my dad broke another big news कि we are moving to the Netherlands.
अच्छा.
हाँ, तो लोगों ने कहा ओहो नेदरलैंड्स जा रहे हैं, बड़ा ओपन माइंडेड मुल्क है, पता नहीं बच्चों का क्या होगा.
इतनी क्रूशल एज में.
क्रूशल एज में खास तौर पे आई एम द एल्डेस्ट ऑफ 3 सिस्टर्स. तो बड़ी वाली का क्या बनेगा. सो इट वाज लाइक अ ह्यूज थिंग. सो आई मूव्ड देयर व्हेन आई वाज 16. और मज़े की बात है कि मैंने ओ लेवल्स बीच में छोड़ा और ए लेवल्स करना शुरू कर दिया.
Oh,
Yeah.
You didn't complete it?
No, they just asked for like an entry test and I cleared that.
Oh.
So I don't have an O-levels degree.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
My dad says कि कभी वो तुमसे पूछ लेंगे और तुम तो मैट्रिक पास भी नहीं हो तो तुम्हारा क्या हो. So yeah, I did my A-levels there. उसके बाद यूनिवर्सिटी भी वहीं हुई and then eventually moved back to Pakistan 2016 में.
Acha. So do you remember anything what your life was like in DG Khan? DG Khan, right?
Yes.
हाँ.
It's Dera Ghazi Khan.
Yeah, I know.
Short for DG Khan. So I do remember, मतलब एक कॉलोनी थी तो मुझे faint जो memories याद हैं कि so I was always a very active, very talkative kid. तो कॉलोनी में हर किसी से मेरी
दोस्ती थी.
हाँ, दोस्ती होती थी. Uncles included. Many of these uncles remember like these really funny things and embarrassing things about me. तो उनको वो याद है. डॉक्टर से दोस्ती, तो डॉक्टर के पास वो जो फार्मास्यूटिकल चीज़ें आती होती थी तो मैं वो उनसे मांगने जाती थी कि अच्छा मेरी मामा कह रही हैं कि वो जो आपके पीछे टॉर्च पड़ी है ना वो मुझे दे दें.
अच्छा, you were chalak also.
Yeah, I was a chalak kid. Yeah, it was a good time. I think it was a very quiet life but very nice. मेरी बहुत जो strong memories हैं वो साइकिलिंग सीखने की हैं.
I think what I'm getting from this is कि बहुत एक community किस्म की life आपने गुजारी है, like वो wholesome communities नहीं होती. हाँ, उस तरह की non big city life.
Yeah, I remember coming to Lahore was like a luxury. It was like a party time. कि नानों के पास लाहौर आते हैं, लाहौर में इतनी life है और जगह इतनी लेट तक खुली होती हैं. डीजी खान में it was very very different.
And that was 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And you went to which school then?
So in Lahore, I went to Beacon House, Liberty campus. I lived all the way in the other side of Lahore, लेकिन I think this life had to bring me to BLL. So BLL मैंने start किया था grade 4th से. Yeah.
And then up to O levels.
Up to half O levels.
O levels.
Yeah, partial O levels.
हाँ, but I think उस time पे BLL was a thing. Like होता था बस वहीं एडमिशन. लड़की है आपकी तो आपने बस BLL में ही एडमिशन कराना है. बिकॉज आई रिमेंबर when we moved to Lahore, my mother was like कि बस मैंने इसको BLL में ही डालना है, और एडमिशन इतनी आसानी से नहीं मिलता था. at that time because you came earlier, तो उस वक्त शायद things were different.
Yeah.
But when I moved to Lahore, which was in 6th grade, तो तब 7th grade actually, हाँ, तब जो है वो होता था कि नहीं, you know, इतनी आसानी से नहीं मिलता, and then my mom really pushed me. But I think it was a great school. Do you think BLL played a significant part in your life and who you are today?
I think so. I think that was the first time I experienced cultural shock.
अच्छा.
Because I had lived in DG Khan, you know, वहाँ की schooling भी बहुत different थी. And then moving to Lahore, it was very, very different. लोग बहुत speed में English बोलते थे. You know, so it was like, oh. So it took me some time to really figure out how I want to settle into this place. Then my sister also joined. I think that kind of helped because knowing कि अच्छा, I have somebody who's around. That really helped. And I think I had really great friends in BLL. Although बहुत सारों के साथ अब मैं in touch नहीं हूँ, but I think at that time they really helped me build up my confidence. I became a very studious person. बहुत naughty से मैं बहुत पढ़ाकू भी हो गई थी. Very competitive पढ़ाई में क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना. Naughty as well, I think, but more studious. So I think it does play a role. I think उसके बाद मेरी लाइफ में बहुत सारी चीज़ें ups and downs हुए हैं. So that kind of really taught me a lot. लेकिन BLL set that base for me to be able to really fight with everything, I think.
Maybe build that sort of resilience. Yeah. So what do you mean by ups and downs that happened, if you want to talk about it later?
Of course. I think इसके बाद जो एक major event था was moving to the Netherlands. You know, 16 पे पहले कभी पाकिस्तान से बाहर नहीं गए. I think I was fortunate that I was moving with family, so the move was a lot easier. But वहाँ जाके you get this exposure के पाकिस्तानीज़ की क्या perception है.
अच्छा.
And this was a time जब पाकिस्तान में situation भी बहुत ख़राब थी. So you know the general stereotypes against Pakistanis were very, very negative, unfortunately. So I think moving there was first a shock to understand कि this is what the world is about.
अच्छा, so आपने travel भी नहीं किया था इससे पहले?
नहीं.
अच्छा.
This was the first time.
Okay. So पाकिस्तान से बाहर कदम रखा तो सीधा move ही किया.
हाँ, सीधा move किया.
हाँ, that's quite a lot, I feel. हाँ.
Yeah. And I think when you were 16, you know, तब आपके friends भी बड़े, आपके लिए life में लगता है बस यही लोग हैं.
That's
यहीं
true.
पे इन्हीं के साथ मेरा जीना मरना sort of a thing, right? So I think leaving your friends and everything was very traumatizing, to say the least. Lekin when I went there, it took me some time. I did figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I think वो O-levels वाला मैं मजाक तो करती हूँ, लेकिन jumping into A-levels was also a shock.
Challenge होगा वो एक in its own. हाँ.
मैं मैथ्स में बहुत बुरी थी. एकदम से आप senior level मैथ्स पढ़ने लग जाते हैं. Like वो ये दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है, you know? But I think with time, that kind of really helped me form my voice, and that's when I started realizing अच्छा ज़िंदगी में ये करना है, you know?
अच्छा.
Yeah.
अच्छा.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? What made you feel like do you think that it helped you sort of find your identity, or because you know, like it's a big change, like you said, culturally भी change है, and then environment बिल्कुल change है, and obviously you skipped a year as well, you know, educationally. So do you think that obviously that must have been a difficult time for you? So what did you like learn from that helped you sort of figure out कि अच्छा मैंने life में क्या करना है?
That's a good question. I think कि जो पहली चीज़ थी ना was the fact कि अगर आप एक ऐसी country से आ रहे हैं या अगर आप ऐसी minority से आ रहे हैं जहाँ पे आपके against stereotypes हैं, how do you fight that to really showcase the person that you actually are?
Okay, very
I think that's very important, right? Because जब कोई stereotypes होते हैं तो हम जनरली उस बंदे की एफिशिएंसी उसी पे लिंक कर लेते हैं या उसको एसोसिएट सिर्फ उसी चीज़ के साथ
बायस होता है हमारा.
हाँ. कि अच्छा ये पर्सन अफ्रीका से आ रहे हैं वो ये ऐसा होगा, वो ये इंडिया से आ रही है मैथ्स में बहुत अच्छा होगा. यू नो, सो वी हैव दीज स्टीरियोटाइप्स एंड जनरली आई रियलाइज के पीपल वर नॉट लुकिंग एट मी पास्ट दिस स्टीरियोटाइप्स एंड दैट्स समथिंग दैट आई रियली वांटेड.
व्हाट काइंड ऑफ स्टीरियोटाइप डिड यू थिंक दे हैड फॉर यू?
पाकिस्तान में लड़कियां यूनिवर्सिटी भी जाती हैं. ओह माय गॉड, पाकिस्तान में इंग्लिश बोली जाती है. दैट्स सो वियर्ड.
वो एक assumption थी that you are backward and uncivilized probably.
और कि मतलब तुमने हेड स्कार्फ क्यों नहीं लिया हुआ? पाकिस्तान में तो सारी लड़कियां लेती हैं. तो इस तरह के छोटे छोटे क्वेश्चंस लोग मुझसे पूछते थे and that really kind of enabled me to question myself कि अच्छा अगर मैं मुसलमान हूँ तो मैं क्यों हूँ, अगर मैं हेड कवर नहीं करती तो मैं क्यों नहीं करती, लेकिन क्या मैं बाकी चीज़ों में बिलीव करती हूँ या नहीं करती. एंड आई थिंक व्हेन आई वाज आस्किंग माई सेल्फ दोज क्वेश्चंस आई रियलाइज कि अच्छा Hufsa is this person who is away from all these stereotypes, and that was like the initial basis of me kind of just being expressive and not really caring what the world thinks.
So interesting. So मुझे इस तरह समझ आ रही है कि because you had an identity crisis because you were uprooted from everything, and obviously that leads to some form of identity crisis. Suddenly new place, not knowing who you are, and coupled with के लोग आपकी identity आपके लिए define कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
It led you to really think about your identity.
True.
Maybe वो होता है ना कि वरना शायद लोग नहीं सोचते. A lot of people never really think about their identity.
Yeah.
But because you were pushed into that sort of situation, तो identity जो है उसकी importance, I think उसकी value
ऐसे ही है,
समझ में आना
I
शुरू हुई.
speak to my friends about this कि हम पाकिस्तान में मुसलमान क्यों होते हैं, because we are born in a Muslim family.
हाँ,
बस ये वजह होती है कि अच्छा चलो कुरान
born
पढ़ो.
Muslim है.
हाँ, born Muslim है. लेकिन I think it takes time to really figure out कि आप मुसलमान क्यों हैं. And I think religion aside, even being Pakistani, when I moved at that time it was expected कि I should be ashamed of being a Pakistani because हमारे मुल्क के हालात ऐसे हैं. But then I realized that's not true, because when you come to the country and when you meet people, you realize कि story बिल्कुल different है. At that time, जो negative associations थी, you had to kind of overcome them and be proud of the fact that you belong from this country. And I think I only was able to realize that after I moved away, कि अच्छा this is something that I love and I associate my identity with this country.
Okay, so that was like your internal thought process or mental state at the time.
Yeah.
But what about externally? Like when you had to deal with the stereotypes, how would you respond or react? या कैसा था वो?
I think it really varied from person to person. कुछ बहुत extremes भी थे, तो उसमें आप उनको समझा भी नहीं सकते because you know that their opinions are very extreme. There's a funny incident that I always like to quote. So I was sitting it was my bachelor's. तो मेरी पहली क्लास में मैं अकेली पाकिस्तानी लड़की थी 400 के बैच में. तो this person came up to me. I won't name his identity. तो वो कहता है कि मुझे पता चला था कि पाकिस्तान में तो suicide bombing schools में सिखाते हैं. So I just looked at him. I was like, "Are you serious?" He goes like, "Yeah, I'm serious." I was like, "You never know कि मैंने अपनी जैकेट के नीचे so क्या पहना है, तो मुझसे दूर होकर बैठ जाओ." वो दिन था और 4 साल he never talked to me. But I think some of these had to be addressed in that way. But the others, I really tried to explain them what I was thinking. And I think sometimes being expressive really helps. Because हम अक्सर जब stereotype का subject होते हैं या whenever we are feeling nervous or scared, we sometimes just tend to shy away from explaining. And I think sometimes when you really voice out what you're saying, the other person is always willing to listen.
I think that's good. Like instead of just shutting them out, openly have that conversation so you can actually eliminate that bias that's in their head. Interesting. So was this at school? Most of it, did you face it at school?
Yeah, I think my first 2 years those were high school. तो वो थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा था. I went to the British school, तो you can already imagine कि वो जिस तरह हम high school shows में देखते हैं, वो actually वहीं पे वही stories होती हैं.
अच्छा, like with the cliques and the
yes,
अच्छा,
बिल्कुल वही stories, like you will see a blonde girl, you will see बिल्कुल exactly high school वैसा ही होता है. So I think high school was challenging, but university was super fun. By that time I had figured out कि who I am, मैंने क्या बोलना है, क्या नहीं बोलना. I was studying something that I loved. I always knew I wanted to do business.
अच्छा.
बचपन से मुझे पता था मैंने marketing करनी है. So I think just everything got into place and it was a lot of fun.
So you said कि बचपन से ही पता था marketing करनी है. क्यों? कैसे? What led to that love for marketing?
So
because बचपन में तो बहुत सारे बच्चों को पता भी नहीं होता marketing क्या होती है. They know teacher, doctor, इस तरह की चीज़ें.
Yeah.
So how was that love for marketing there?
I think it started in school.
ठीक है.
I remember एक purple color की book होती थी business studies की. And I looked through it and I was like, wow, this is like, I really enjoyed studying it. I think वो पहली किताब थी other than fiction जो मैंने पढ़ी थी that I loved.
अच्छा.
I still have it.
अच्छा.
Because you know that really
reminds you of
of those times. And since then I think it was just something that I wanted to do. फिर मैंने O levels में business pick कर लिया. Accounting बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं थी लेकिन pick करनी थी. But business से हमेशा से ज़्यादा association थी. Marketing बहुत aspect पसंद था. I thought I could be a good marketer because I have always been empathetic. And I think marketing में बहुत
you need that.
you need to understand कि अगले बंदे को क्या चाहिए, right? So I think बस वहीं से it just started. And then when I started studying it, I realized कि oh, this is my decision was right. You know, अम्मा always wanted कि डॉक्टर बन जाओ. अभी भी वो कहती हैं हाँ ये तुम डॉक्टर बड़ी अच्छी होती. लेकिन I think I made the right call. Yeah.
अच्छा. So you did business studies in accounting, economics वगैरह. I'm assuming वो था. And you did that in A levels as well?
Yes.
So what were your A level subjects?
So I did business, economics, maths, psychology, and Urdu.
What?
Yeah, yeah. And
that's a lot.
yeah, so Urdu तो वैसे वहाँ पे आसान उर्दू होती थी तो वो literally वो आपको कहती थी कि अली ने ये किया और क्वेश्चन होता था अली ने क्या किया तो वो आपने लिखना होता था बड़ा सिंपल सा था तो वो फ्री में A* मिलता है
Why not?
हाँ why not? It looks very good. Oh my god, A* in Urdu.
Psychology क्यों?
Psychology because I was curious to see कि इस subject में क्या होता है you know because बचपन में हम सुनते हैं psychology of mind control है but this is what psychology is about but I was more curious to really understand what this subject is about and my teacher at that time told me कि business में marketing में particularly psychology बहुत important होती है.
Like you have to understand consumer psychology if you want to create good marketing campaigns. Yeah,
so I studied psychology. It was a very difficult subject. I think the most difficult because सब रट्टे बहुत होते थे.
I think उसमें ना there are lots of case studies and you have to memorize everything.
ऐसे ही. So that was traumatic. लेकिन psychology में मेरा सबसे अच्छा grade आया था क्योंकि शायद मैंने पढ़ा ज़्यादा था.
अच्छा.
I remember मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठ जाती थी and I used to sit out of the house in the lawn so that मुझे नींद ना आए. फिर मैं रट्टे लगाती थी.
सही. And so that psychology and then उसके अलावा business, maths and economics.
उर्दू.
हाँ. Then A levels गुजरा ठीक है. Then फिर आपने university में what was your major?
University में it was international business for bachelor's लेकिन उसके अंदर भी I specialized in entrepreneurship.
अच्छा.
Yeah. It was an interesting, I think, decision to go into university in Netherlands itself.
Was your family still there?
They were.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very good program to be a part of. शुरू में it was one of the most popular programs actually in the Netherlands. So अम्मा ने कहा this is where you're going. I initially wanted to move out of home. You know, everybody was experiencing that, so I wanted to do that. मैंने 5 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में अप्लाई किया इन यूके और मेरी मामा ने कहा कि अगर लंदन स्कूल में हो गया तो चली जाना वरना
यहीं रहना.
और लंदन स्कूल वाज द ओनली वन जहाँ से
रिजेक्शन. बेसिकली अल्लाह मियां मेड इट वेरी क्लियर कि आप नहीं जा रही उधर.
So yeah, I stayed in Netherlands. I was living in one city, studying in the other. तो मैं रोज़ एक सिटी से दूसरी सिटी ट्रैवल करती थी. And at that time हॉस्टल में रहने की इजाज़त भी नहीं थी कि नहीं यहाँ की ट्रांसपोर्ट इतनी अच्छी है कि तुम घर आ जाया करो.
अच्छा.
2 घंटे जाने के 2 घंटे आने के लगते थे. Now situation is a lot different for my sisters. लेकिन yeah, that's how it was.
So is your family still there?
No, they're back.
Okay.
Yeah. They moved a year earlier than I did.
अच्छा.
I stayed, completed my masters, and then I moved back.
कितना अरसा आप लोगों ने वहाँ पे गुजारा था?
I stayed there for 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
अच्छा. They moved back, then you did your masters as well.
Yes.
Masters किसमें किया?
Marketing में.
Marketing में.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. Why did you do in entrepreneurship पहले?
Because I always knew कि मैं कभी शायद कुछ अपना शुरू करूँ. So I wanted to equip myself with all the skill sets. And I remember कि उस entrepreneurship course में they taught a different technique and they said कि usually हम एक बिजनेस प्लान बनाते हैं, फिर हम जंप इन करते हैं बिजनेस में, और फिर हम रिसोर्सेज ढूंढते हैं. देयर अप्रोच वाज कि जो आपके रिसोर्सेज हैं उनको आपने यूटिलाइज करके बिजनेस कैसे स्टार्ट करना है. So that was a very interesting approach.
अच्छा.
And that was the only specialization जिसके अंदर you actually started a business.
हाँ,
तो
अच्छा.
हमने होम ट्यूटरिंग का I remember एक सेटअप किया. We were the only team जिसने पहला प्रॉफिट भी कमाया. Very happy. वो चला नहीं, फिर हमने आगे उसको कंटिन्यू नहीं किया, लेकिन I was very happy because that kind of really enabled me to understand a startup mindset. And I think now what I do, that really helps me.
अच्छा, एक सवाल है. Did you have any desi friends over there?
I did.
अच्छा,
yes.
अच्छा.
Yeah.
Was there like a community? आपको स्कूल में मिल गए या what?
So यूनिवर्सिटी में तो कोई देसी फ्रेंड्स नहीं थे. एक दो थे, लेकिन वो वैसे देसी थे जो बाहर मूव हो रहे हुए थे. तो वो पाकिस्तान उनकी रूट्स थी, but they had never been to Pakistan.
अच्छा, अच्छा.
But I think a lot of family friends were there. That really helped. There was this one particular friend. वो मुझसे 1 साल छोटी थी. She was going through a similar cycle.
अच्छा.
So I think that was something that I really cherished. लेकिन उसके
Good
अलावा
friendship.
हाँ,
हाँ.
good friendship. लेकिन उसके अलावा friends were from all over the
The
place.
world.
हाँ.
And the place. अच्छा.
Yeah.
So what were those friendships like?
Amazing.
अच्छा.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I think because हम सारे दोस्त बने थे जब हमारे formative years थे.
हाँ.
So that really helped. बहुत सारी उन्होंने मुझे चीज़ें सिखाई कि अच्छा तुम्हें पता है इससे भी होता है.
हाँ.
I attended my first ever party with these people,
हाँ, हाँ.
So you can imagine कि ये आपकी ज़िंदगी में बड़े important लोग होते हैं.
True.
Yeah, and they were since they were from all over the place, we kind of learned to respect each other, and our friendship started on understanding कि अच्छा तुम्हारी country में ऐसा होता है, oh this is how we do it. So that was.
I think हाँ, वो much to learn from each other ना. Diversity है, so there's a lot that हाँ.
Yeah.
सही.
Yeah, and I think it sounds really silly, लेकिन I think BLL में we were all girls. तो हम बड़े एक डिफरेंट तरीके से सोचते थे.
ठीक है.
वहाँ जाके यू गेट इनटू अ को एजुकेशन, आपके ग्रुप में लड़के भी होते हैं, लड़कियाँ भी होती हैं, एंड देन यू रियलाइज़ कि वो लड़कों की इतनी हाइप बनी होती है ना जब हम छोटे होते हैं. There's literally nothing of that sort.
Yeah, it's like obviously आप जितना अलग रखोगे उतना आपको अगली चीज़ को बहुत वो लगेगी, big deal.
हाँ.
Like
कहते हैं ना जब लिखा हो कि यहाँ नहीं जाना तो फिर आपको जाने का दिल भी करता है.
दिल भी करता है और आपको तो पता नहीं क्या है. Like it becomes a bigger mystery, you know. अच्छा, so interesting point you raised. So being in all girls like your entire life, ठीक है, and then this. What was that switch life? Because it's not like oh you switched. अच्छा आपने पाकिस्तान में लाहौर में BLL से आप BDC चले गए टाइप जहाँ पे को एजुकेशन थी. लाइक आप उठ के नेदरलैंड्स चली गई. सो इवन द जो वहाँ पर लड़के थे वो बहुत डिफरेंट थे. तो वो कैसा एक्सपीरियंस था? व्हाट डिड यू थिंक? लाइक आपके प्रीकंसीव नोशंस क्या थे जनरली लड़कों के बारे में, और फिर क्या हुआ एंड व्हाट डिड दैट फील लाइक? वर यू शाय? व्हाट वाज द एक्सपीरियंस?
आई थिंक मुझे बाकी इतने सारे शॉक्स लगे हुए थे उस वक्त. This was the least of my concerns, being very honest.
Makes sense, हाँ, makes sense.
Yeah,
हाँ.
because I think there were a lot of these other factors. So this was just not something I had thought about. And when I went into school, I realized कि वो सब एक दूसरे को बिल्कुल equally treat करते हैं. So then that hype और वो जो हवा बनी होती है my mind में वो खुद ही naturally dissolve हो गई.
हाँ.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big experience for you. It was just like बस हो गया.
Yeah.
हाँ.
And then university में I realized कि मेरी लड़कों से वैसे ही ज़्यादा बनती है. उनसे मेरी दोस्ती ज़्यादा आसानी से हो जाती है. So
Why is that?
I have no idea actually.
कुछ तो thought होगी कि why do you think it was easier to be friends with them?
I think एक तो ये कि they are much more expressive in what they're thinking and what they're feeling.
अच्छा.
So I think that was maybe one thing.
Okay.
Generally, I don't like to call myself a very typical
Girly girl?
हाँ, मैं बिल्कुल girly girl नहीं हूँ. हमेशा से I was a little tomboyish, I think.
अच्छा.
So I think that just helped. Yeah, I mean I have great female friends as well, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that is. Yeah.
बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात है ये. बिकॉज जनरली आई फील लाइक women are more expressive in what they're thinking and feeling. Like I always think कि लड़के जो हैं वो शायद इतना अपने आप को express नहीं करते, especially like on what they're feeling, maybe what they're thinking, and I also feel like maybe they're more straight up, I guess, but they're not very expressive in the depth of it. Like that's what I always thought. But maybe that makes friendships and relationships easier in the sense that it's all like flat and out there sort of a thing. हाँ, तो interesting thought. कभी मैंने इसमें सोचा नहीं, but हाँ. Okay. So university, अच्छा, so masters फिर आपने marketing में किया, and then you moved back.
No, I did my first job in the Netherlands.
अच्छा. Okay, what was that?
That was also marketing. It was growth hacking. तब ये बड़ी नई term होती थी कि lead generation.
Can you tell us what growth hacking is?
So growth hacking in simple terms is you trying to find online sources to grow your business. Simple terminology. I was responsible for lead generation at that time. So lead generation ये होती है कि आपने online ढूंढने हैं कि ये मेरे potential customers हो सकते हैं.
हाँ, audience
कैसे
करना, ठीक है.
लेकिन अब तो social media marketing बहुत ज़्यादा build up हो गई है. You know, all these ads really allow you to really capture these leads बहुत आसानी से. लेकिन at that time it was a lot of like unconventional ways to get these leads. आप कैसे scraping करके तो LinkedIn से email addresses निकालेंगे, you know. So I learned
data collection and then reaching out to those people with your product or service, whatever.
So it was very interesting. Like I stayed there for only 6 months for my first job. लेकिन it was very very insightful.
दिमाग खुल गया होगा. ठीक है. And then you came back. Why did you come back? वहाँ पे continue किया?
I came back because of my family. I wanted to be here. मैं सबसे बड़ी हूँ. I have 2 younger sisters and I have a relationship with my parents के I'm like their friend. You know, so I help them in decision making.
I think सबसे बड़े बच्चे की responsibility भी थोड़ी ज़्यादा होती है. And parents have this little bit of tendency to rely on them a little bit.
They don't accept it. Like कभी नहीं माँ कहती हैं ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. लेकिन it's a fact. So I came back just to be here. I was very close with my sisters. My sisters had moved back. So I realized that I should be here.
With your family.
Yeah, with my family. And वो जो nationalism था ना वो भी थोड़ा ज़्यादा था. कि चलो चलते हैं. You know, let's contribute to the
give back.
Let's give back. So yeah. Don't regret it at all.
Chalo, that's good. That's nice to hear. ठीक है, you came back and then what?
And then I got a reverse cultural shock.
Oh my God, I love that. Of course. Because I think when you probably left Pakistan, things were very different. And when you came back, it was just like, जो आई थिंक आपके दिमाग में जो इमेज बन चुकी होगी कि दिस इज व्हाट पीपल देयर आर लाइक इन पाकिस्तान इज लाइक, इट मस्ट हैव बीन वेरी डिफरेंट. व्हाट एज वाज दिस?
सो आई मूव्ड बैक व्हेन आई वाज 23.
ठीक है.
लेकिन दैट वाज अ बिग शॉक.
ओके.
आई थिंक इट वाज आल्सो बिकॉज मैंने एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था. बिकॉज यू नो आई न्यू पाकिस्तान ही जा रही हूँ. सो आई मूव टू इस्लामाबाद. पहले सारे फ्रेंड्स लाहौर में थे. When I moved back ज़्यादा मेरे फ्रेंड्स की शादियाँ हो गई हुई थी. So I moved back at that stage जब सोसाइटी एक्सपेक्ट करती है कि ब्याह हो जाए, you know. And I think generally like it was a crazy cultural shock.
Okay, how? क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन थी, क्या रियलिटी थी?
एक्सपेक्टेशन ये थी कि बहुत easily जलन हो जाऊंगी. I think it was because I was following these social media pages and I saw कि पाकिस्तान में तो लाइफ बड़ी glamorous है, and you know, like, and these pages depicted a reality के women are very accepted, they can be whoever they want to be, वो जैसे बोलना चाहते हैं वो बोल सकते हैं. But coming back was very very different. So I took 2 months to settle in and then I started working. It was a software house and I was one of the very few females in that software house. So I've always been very talkative and very loud. And I think Netherlands जाके वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा develop हो गया था.
अच्छा.
So I came back and you know I realized कि me being that person really raised like a lot of judgments. कि ये तो ऐसी है, ये तो बहुत bold है, और ये तो Netherlands से है, ये तो बड़ी ख़राब होगी.
फिर यहाँ पे भी bias and stereotype आपको मिला कि बाहर से आई है तो ये तो है ही ख़राब.
Yeah, I always wear red lipstick. So वो red lipstick के साथ भी association थी.
पाकिस्तान में वो है ना.
Character, you know. And that was really sad.
That's sad.
But that was the reality. I've also always been on the chubbier side. मैं हमेशा से, you know, I've always been healthier. And I realized कि वो jeans पहनी होती थी ना तो people used to be like, what? Especially for my company, the company I was working for. So, you know, there was a lot of like unexpected things जो मैंने सोची नहीं थी, but that also kind of created that bias. And I think throughout my life there have been these steps when I just had to fight this cultural shock. And that really, empowered me as a person. But I know that a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of girls don't really get out of it like I did. So I was very fortunate, but it was a shock.
Yeah, I think, or especially women like who step out and have to work and do things, उनको बहुत ज़्यादा feel होता है because you can clearly see the difference workplaces में जो होता है, judgment आपको face करनी पड़ती है and very interesting with the whole red lipstick thing because आपकी character is judged on very small things, you know, like the clothes you wear, the makeup you wear, the makeup you don't wear, the clothes you don't wear, you know, how you talk, if you're loud, if you're funny, इन चीज़ों पे भी होता है कि यार नहीं आप बस धीमे से रहो और आराम से बात करो और ज़्यादा हंसने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Like even to the point that, you know, like मुझे याद है एक दफ़ा कि I was at my university और वहाँ पर कोई बात हुई and I was laughing खुल के, like I was just laughing. तो हमारे एक प्रोफेसर थे, बड़े बूढ़े से थे. So I don't blame him because he belongs to a certain generation in time. तो वहाँ से गुजर रहे थे and he stops and he turns and he says, खबरदार जो आइंदा ऐसे हंसी, लड़कियाँ ऐसे नहीं हंसती. You know, so it was just like कि अच्छा नहीं होता, like you know, like कि औरतों को खुल के हंसना भी मना है because it is some sort of like गलत चीज़ टू डू. मतलब आप जितना सफोकेट कर सकते हो औरत को कर दो, हंस भी नहीं सकती. सो हाँ, आई एक्सपीरियंस दैट एंड यू नो सो इट वाज जस्ट लाइक कि आई एंडेड अप इन टीयर्स कि आई वाज जस्ट लाफिंग एंड इट वाज अ स्ट्रेट अप कि लड़कियाँ नहीं इस तरह हंस सकती हैं. धीमी आवाज़ में आप हंसें चुप करके, किसी को पता भी ना चले. सो हाँ, एंड दीज थिंग्स यू नो दे रियली लाइक आपको मेंटली अफेक्ट करती हैं कि ये किस तरह की लाइफ है. So अच्छा, interesting. So reverse culture shock. फिर आपको हुआ, ठीक है. Now how long did you work there and then what?
I stayed in the company for 3 years. So I was there for a long time. I think with time things got a lot better. Generally, I think I was very fortunate because a lot of people who joined after me had similar journeys. वो भी बाहर से आए हुए थे, girls ज़्यादा हो गई. You know, I also fought like crazy. You know, we should have more females. At one point in time when I was leading the department, तो लड़कियाँ ज़्यादा थी और लड़के नहीं थे. That was a problem. You know, we should hire more guys in your team. So I think with time things changed.
आप normalize करते हो, आप उस चीज़ को करते जाओ तो people के लिए normal होता जाता है. And हाँ.
And I think वही लोग जो पहले शायद judgment कर रहे थे, जब they got to know me, तो they were like, वो इतनी बुरी भी नहीं है, you know. You know, so she's, and then eventually like when I left, those were like my really good friends. लेकिन वो एक शुरू में shock था जो कि it took time to absorb.
हाँ.
Yeah.
And I think sort of the best way to deal with these situations is to show and let people see कि अच्छा यार, it's all good. हाँ. जो मुझे एक चीज़ फील होती है ना कि for us our problems will be solved when we put the solutions out in a very normal way. We normalize it for people. You know, आप जितना भी आप छुप के बैठ जाओगे तो उससे तो बिल्कुल ही कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होगा कि अच्छा यू नो हमारे क्योंकि कल्चर में होता है कि सोसाइटी ये चीज़ एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती तो तुम ये ना करो. That it the only thing it does, it makes the problem worse. कि अच्छा फ़लानी चीज़ ना पहनो, फ़लानी बात ना करो, ऐसे ना बैठो, यहाँ ना जाओ, अकेले ना जाओ, ये ड्राइव ना करो, जो भी हर किसी के डिफरेंट लेवल्स पे डिफरेंट चीज़ें हैं. आप उसी चीज़ को कम करते जा रहे हो सोसाइटी में. इफ़ यू सी लेस women on the road, you see less women driving, it will always be an odd thing and less acceptable. So जितनी औरतें रोड पे आएंगी, चलते फिरते नज़र आएंगी, जो भी आप टैबू समझते हो वो करेंगी, उतनी वो चीज़ नॉर्मल होती जाएगी. तो what we're doing is in trying to protect our women from the society, we are making their situation worse. What we actually need to do is actually empower them to do the stuff, stand by them, because they can't do it alone. Because then you're just throwing them into like, you know, the caves with the lions. No, you have to stand by them, let them do it, and then normalize it for the world.
Completely agree.
हाँ. So कभी कभार ना, because you know, I've grown up obviously in this country and in this culture, and a lot of things like you are conditioned to think and feel, you know, like मुझे बहुत दफ़ा इस तरह feel होता था कि you know, why doesn't my husband act like a certain way कि तुम ये ना करो, you know, तुम वो ना करो, या especially when I was pregnant कि I started realizing that actually that was really good, because he would constantly be like कि नहीं तुम करो, तुम ये भी कर सकती हो, तुम फलाना भी कर सकती हो, and it was actually very very empowering, you know, but आपके दिमाग में क्योंकि होता है because के they're supposed to like protect you and take care of you, मना करना है. Actually मुझे शुरू में इतना फील भी नहीं होता था. People around me made me feel like that कि इस तरह क्यों नहीं है. And then I was like, no, it's really good. Like I feel like especially in my pregnancy, if my husband sort of made me feel like कि यार तुम तो pregnant हो गई हो तो अब तुम कुछ ना करो, you know, तो मैं वाकई उस चीज़ को internalize करती कि अच्छा I need all this sort of like protection and care. But my husband took it very normally, where he took care of me, but he also said no, like do what you can do. You know, why do you need to make yourself this, बीमार तो नहीं हो ना.
लेकिन यहाँ पे समझ जाता है.
हाँ कुछ, हाँ कि बस अब तो your life is over type. So that was really nice, and the best part about it was the freedom के things that I wanted to do I wasn't stopped from doing. But things that I actually couldn't do, they were validated. कि अच्छा तुमसे ये नहीं हो रहा है, तुम ये नहीं कर सकती, तो ठीक है वाकई में. But अगर कोई चीज़ मैं कर सकती हूँ, so I didn't have anybody telling me don't do it, it's bad for you. तो उस तरह से I think we need that freedom and that empowerment from our society and people to be able to normalize things in the future. चुप करके बिठा दोगी तो कुछ भी नहीं बदलेगा.
ऐसे ही है. I tell the story to like my friends also. So we were 3 sisters and my dad has, I think he's embodied the definition of women empowerment since like we were young. तो मुझे याद है कि हम पाकिस्तान जाने से पहले भी, लाइक नेदरलैंड्स जाने से पहले भी, अगर हम लोग किसी दुकान पे जाते तो बंदे खड़े होते तो माय डैड नेवर सेड कि रुको मैं जाता हूँ, अच्छा चलें जाके ये ले आएँ. हम लोगों ने तंदूर से रोटियाँ भी ली हुई हैं, यू नो, एंड एट दैट टाइम इट फेल्ट लाइक बाबा क्यों नहीं कर रहे. बट नाउ व्हेन वी लुक एट इट लाइक ओह दैट्स व्हाई, यू नो, नाउ आई एम नॉट शाय अवे कि मैं संडे मार्केट भी जा सकती हूँ, मैं थ्रिफ्ट स्टोर्स भी जा सकती हूँ, तो मुझे वो अजीब नहीं लगता. आई थिंक एवरीबडी रियली नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू हैव टू नॉर्मलाइज थिंग्स फॉर इट टू रियली बी एक्सेप्टेड, लाइक यू सेड. सो दैट्स
दिस इज अ रियली गुड एग्जांपल, बिकॉज वही बात है कि आप भी एम्पावर्ड हुए और वो तंदूर वालों के लिए चीज़ नॉर्मलाइज भी हुई कि भाई ये भी हो सकता है, ऐसे भी हो सकता है, और इसमें कुछ, और वो इस एक्सपीरियंस के बाद होता है इसमें कुछ ख़राब तो नहीं हुआ. वही बात है ना, यू शो देम एंड दे सी के देयर वाज एक्चुअली नथिंग रॉन्ग विद दिस, you know, and the more women come and get the naan from the tandoor wala, the more normal it gets for him, and then he stops staring at them and he stops judging them because वो eliminate हो गया ना, normalize हो गई चीज़. So yeah, very nice. Acha, so okay, so then you stopped working there? How? Why?
I did.
Why?
Because I had plans कि मैं Thailand move हो रही हूँ. So I got that was a very interesting phase. So I got a job offer. So during these 3 years, I realized that I wanted to create a platform for women to really speak up. Because मुझे realize हुआ कि अगर मैं आई हुई थी और मुझे कोई platform मिल जाता तो शायद मेरी journey बहुत different होती.
Platform how? Like in a form of
so, you know, like a community, like a group of people that I can speak to really raise that voice. It's okay to feel like that.
Like a digital community or like a support group that's like...
So I was okay with both.
Okay.
At that time, I was just trying to look at my options. And I met Saad Ahmed. And you know, my immediate boss at that time was Mohammed. So he told me कि अच्छा, you know, Google किस तरह से...
Mohammed, the demo one.
Yes, Mohammed bin Masood. He has been a very important factor in my life as well. So... They said कि अच्छा, you know, Google किस तरह से community है.
He was at this place working with you?
He was my immediate boss. He was my first boss in Pakistan.
Okay.
तो वो डेमो चले गए उसके बाद, लेकिन उससे पहले ही said कि ये Google की एक community है, तुमने करनी है. I said sure. And him being, you know, the passionate person that he is, full of energy, तो बस ठीक है, कल से शुरू कर रहे हैं. So we started, like Saad was already running this community known as GDG Islamabad Developer Group. But me and another very good friend of mine, Eamon, joined the community. And then we really started doing these events to kind of create that platform for everybody to come together and really talk about these issues. So actually one of the first big events that we did for women only was the one that you attended also as a panelist.
As a
And it was
panelist.
a big deal for us कि इतनी सारी खवातीन.
It was what?
2017.
2017. What was the event called?
Women Tech
Women Tech
Makers.
Makers.
Yes.
GDG.
Yeah, so we were the Women Tech Maker ambassadors, out one of the first 3 in Pakistan. तो वो बड़ा एक exciting वो चीज़ थी कि this is what we are doing. Although the community was only focused on women in tech, we tried to broaden the scope and really talk about issues that people don't really talk about. So वो event हुआ, amazing feedback.
अच्छा था, बहुत अच्छा था. Here's my feedback.
That's good.
It was really good.
Yeah. And I think like people like you who attended, like वो audience के लिए इतनी बड़ी encouragement थी कि this is amazing. Like I'm not just the one facing these issues, लेकिन ये जो influencers, ये celebrities होते हैं, इनको भी ऐसे issues हो सकते हैं. So उस पर feedback बहुत अच्छा था. And that's kind of when where community building started from. कि अच्छा अब ख़वातीन के लिए ये सब कुछ करना है. And it has been a roller coaster since then, but an amazing journey.
Okay. So now you're currently a community developer at GDG.
So I'm a community manager at Google.
Sorry, community manager at Google. My bad.
No, all good. But I manage all the GDGs.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of other communities like Google Developer Student Club, which is focused more on students. Then we have Women Tech Maker, which is women in tech. And then we have Google Developer Experts, जो कि थोड़े से advanced level experts होते हैं.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on this role? What do you do exactly?
In one line, we empower the youth. Quick summary. So हमारे 3 different pillars हैं that we focus on. The first is learning. So really empowering the youth of Pakistan with latest knowledge on tech, and in particular Google Tech. तो Google Developer related जितनी भी technologies हैं, Android हो गया, Cloud हो गया, Firebase हो गया. We try कि हम latest learnings को पाकिस्तान में लेके आ सकें. Because universities में बच्चे पढ़ तो रहे हैं, लेकिन when they graduate, they realize that there's a gap. So we try and fulfill that gap, जो bridge the gap between industry and academia. जो हम सुनते हैं ना, everybody talks about it. Basically, we are trying to do that.
So how? Through courses? Through what? What's the?
So it takes different forms. Courses भी हैं, workshops भी हैं. Events पे भी we do a lot of hardcore tech content. लेकिन we couple that with non-tech. Because we have realized कि पाकिस्तान में we have amazing talent, but we don't know how to sell it.
अच्छा.
So that's something that we try and work on. कि आपने CV कैसे बनानी है, soft skills पे कैसे काम करना है. अच्छा, is it possible for a university graduate to get into Google? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
How is that possible? We talk about these case studies and these amazing stories that we have of Googlers. So it's just a lot of empowerment. So learning is one pillar. The second is connecting. So really, enabling these youth members to be connected to one another and also to mentors. कि आपको guidance कैसे मिल सकती है. What is it that you need for your career? We try and do that, and eventually that comes with growth, which is the third pillar.
अच्छा.
Yeah. Yeah.
सही. How nice. Do you like doing it?
I love doing it.
Okay, why do you love doing it?
I love people. I think that's the biggest reason behind it. I think जब आपका काम aligns with your personal passion, that's when you really enjoy it. And for me, I think because मेरे बहुत सारे cultural shocks के बाद मैं यहाँ पहुँची थी, I think that really helped me align it with my personal goals. कि अच्छा पाकिस्तान में ये change लेके आना है. किस तरह लेके आना है? This is one medium for it. And now when I look at these case studies, these women that we have empowered, we have some kids जो कि हमारे programs में part किया, now they're working in Google. So when you see these success stories, you're like, okay, मेरे काम का फ़ायदा हो रहा है, so that's excellent.
It's rewarding, na?
Yeah.
Yeah, sense of achievement होती है. You can see what you've done.
And I think दूसरी side पे even Google recognizes कि यार पाकिस्तान में इतना talent है, English इतनी अच्छी बोलते हैं, इनके बच्चे इतने talented हैं. So when you see that also, it really helps because you're kind of like an ambassador on both sides, and that really helps. So yeah, and हमारे community members are such lovely people.
अच्छा.
उनके साथ वैसे मज़ा बहुत आता है.
So you enjoy the
Yeah.
work, and I think the best thing about working somewhere, is if it aligns with your core. कि आप जो things that you are truly passionate about, the problems that you want to solve as a human to make the world better, rather than the things you do, you know, to make money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that if that aligns, then that's the best kind of work.
Yeah. Completely.
You feel complete,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So what do you think? Ki this current role and this job, where do you see that taking you in the future? आगे क्या करना है? सोचा है?
मैं इतना आगे सोचती नहीं हूँ वैसे. I think all my decisions, especially career related, have been very spontaneous. बहुत एकदम से वो ये करने लगी हूँ मैं. अच्छा चलो वो हो जाता है. And somehow like Alamia has been very kind कि वो बात खुद ही clear हो जाता है. So I don't really think very far ahead. लेकिन जो भी करना, I think it will be for the community. It can take a different shape, I think. Because now I think it's also about कि जिन लोगों को हमने train कर दिया इनको हम further empower कैसे करें. And I think one of this aspects is I also want to help a lot of businesses grow. So something along these lines. लेकिन वो क्या होगा exactly, even I don't know. For now, I think I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing now. We'll see.
Okay, and is marketing a part of what you do right now?
Yes.
Okay, how?
So it's basically a lot of program management. So you structure out programs और फिर आप उनको market करते हैं for the local community, and then you also market it within Google. कि पाकिस्तान में ये हो रहा है, this is what's happening. You know, because people might not think कि ये एक बहुत important chunk है, लेकिन selling it to internal teams is also like a big.
Yes.
You know, they need to know कि अच्छा ये हो रहा है तो ये क्यों हो रहा है और इसका फ़ायदा क्यों है, और people love Google, you know, so you need to communicate that. So I think that is an interesting part of the job as well.
And what about your workplace environment and culture? What's that like?
I work from home.
Acha.
So my environment is my room.
Has it always been work from home? Yeah, is this after COVID? Because
No, it has been work from home. So the nature of this job is कि आपने अपने home city से locate करना है, and then you travel within Pakistan. So it's a combination. But I think generally the company culture is amazing. Very acceptable. वो आपको ज़बरदस्ती छुट्टियाँ कराते हैं कि आपने लीव नहीं ली है, छुट्टी ले लो.
Sweet.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Why are you not taking days off? You know, so I think overall the culture is amazing. And even though I'm working from home, I still feel like I'm a part of the team. So I think that is great. And work from home has its own advantages. So
do you love working from home?
I used to. अब मैं थोड़ा सा, you know, I get sick and tired of it sometimes. But then I get to, you know, visit कराची चले गए, लाहौर
कुछ
चले
भी
गए.
कहीं भी, हाँ.
तो
It
वो
gives
फिर-
you a lot of freedom.
Yes. So
That's
that's
good. And the previous place you were working on, वो तो एक like proper brick and mortar working place थी, right?
वो working place थी. Now interestingly वो भी completely work from home.
A lot of
हो गई है.
people have, yeah.
So that's really nice. बीच में I also worked for a healthcare company.
अच्छा.
Also marketing में. It was telehealth. This was peak COVID times.
क्या नाम था इसका?
It was Health Pass के
अच्छा.
नाम से was known. It was set up by a German group. That was also a very interesting journey because अब हम survival के लिए fight कर रहे थे because our company was experiencing a lot of losses because of COVID. Eventually it shut down. So I was very fortunate. Yeah. Unfortunate. लेकिन very fortunate.
पहले I was like, what? Then you corrected yourself.
ऊपर से मैंने बोला भी अंग्रेजी में. लेकिन वो भी एक अच्छा I think learning experience था कि आप lay off कैसे experience करते हैं. That was, you know.
What did they say?
Sorry?
What did they say?
So we were aware of the situation from quite
feel
early
होना
on.
शुरू हो जाता
तो
होगा.
उन्होंने पहले ही बड़ा clearly बता दिया था कि ये हो रहा है. देखो अगर हम ये नहीं कर सकेंगे तो बंद हो जाएगी. Eventually they had to shut down, but they were very supportive. You know, they connected us to a lot of
अच्छा, that's
different
good.
companies कि यहाँ चले जाएं, यहाँ कर लें. तो it was fine. मतलब उतना ज़्यादा क्रेजी नहीं था जितना मैंने सोचा था, लेकिन अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था अनएम्प्लॉयड होने का भी थोड़े टाइम के लिए. So
And how long have you been working in your current working place?
1 year now.
1 year now.
Yeah, I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary last month. Yeah. Yeah.
So still new there, you know, lots to do there, I guess.
Yeah.
Sahi. Anything else you want to share about your life with us, Hafsa?
Personal or
Anything, significant moment you feel that played a huge role, or anything that you think a lesson you learned, something you would like to share?
I think summary, अगर मैं overall अपनी life की summary करूँ तो I think it's very important to just be who you are and make sure कि society आपको बिल्कुल change ना करे. I think my personal battles really enabled me to be strong professionally as well. Because रिश्ता culture, वो मोटी हो, शादी कर लो, उम्र हो गई है तुम्हारी अब. I think that really influenced the way people saw me, and they still see me. Some of them have a lot of sympathy for me. कि तुम्हारी शादी नहीं हुई अभी तक.
हाँ, like as if कोई दुख की बात है.
And I tell them this is a decision by choice. It's not something कि मतलब नहीं हो रही, लेकिन वो एक choice थी. So I think overall summary है कि the lesson learned is just be you. It's very important to just be you for a while. I think it will get difficult. लोग आपको ताने भी देंगे, बातें भी करेंगे, लेकिन once they understand and they accept you, they'll start loving you for exactly the kind of person
that you are.
Yeah,
true.
And find your support circle. I think it's okay it's completely fine to accept कि ये मेरे साथ हो रहा है, and just say it out loud. हमें अक्सर बड़ा अजीब लगता है, लोग क्या कहेंगे, अजीब हो जाएगा. I like to talk about everything openly.
बहुत अच्छी बात है.
So I think that helps.
That helps.
Yeah.
Right. So, interesting fact for the audience that Hufsa and I were in the same school. So, I don't remember a lot of interaction, but I definitely remember her face. अच्छा ये मेरे school में थी. I think we have some mutual friends or acquaintances इस तरह से. So, like a couple of times you said that you were talkative and you were loud. Ek to you're not loud at all. At least not here.
Yeah.
But even tab, I always had this impression of you that you were a very quiet person. Like मुझे कभी भी like, but maybe because हमारा इतना interaction ही नहीं हुआ था. Like always just, assumed that you're quiet and उस तरह से.
I think I was always loud with people that I knew. लेकिन जनरली पीपल टेल मी कि तुम इतना बोलती नहीं हो, लेकिन मेरे अगर आप घर वालों से पूछें तो completely disagree to this. So I think it's maybe it's like the internal vision that I have of me and what people have of me is different.
हाँ हो सकता है. हाँ अच्छा so you went to Netherlands, you came back. So what about the friends that you had here in Pakistan? Did you stay in touch या आके दोबारा reconnection हुआ या and how did they think of you कि change होके आई है या क्या? Did they have certain reactions to that?
Being very honest, there are very few friends जिनके साथ I'm still in touch. Most of them are now kind of moved on in their lives. जिनके साथ I am in touch, they still think I'm the same.
अच्छा.
The same person. So I think that's a good thing also कि आप इतने time के बाद भी change नहीं होते. लेकिन वो I think level of friendship has changed a lot. I remember like I had a recent reunion at a friend's शादी.
अच्छा.
तो वो हमारी conversation was centered around शादी and बच्चे and मंगनीज and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like now हम थोड़े से different frequency पे operate करते हैं. लेकिन every time we meet, it's always nice. Yeah.
So very nice and refreshing conversation with you, Hufsa.
Yeah.
Very different from, very similar also, but very different from a lot of people that I have in here. तो बहुत मज़ा आया. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as well.
I did. I feel like मैंने अपनी पूरी life को self-reflect कर लिया, so that's nice.
Some people come here and say कि हम इतने पास में चले गए. I feel like I had a therapy session, know.
Yeah, you should start charging for it. At the end, bill बना के like, here you go.
Someone came here and off the camera she said कि this was very similar to my first session with my therapist because उसमें भी पहले ये था कि अपनी life के बारे में बताओ and it went in a similar वो. तो मैंने कहा I think that's how when you think about your past, so यही होता है.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Happy Chirp. मुझे बहुत मज़ा आया हफ्सा से बात करके. I hope she feels the same way as well. And I hope that you guys also, learned a thing or two from this podcast. It was a very different life story as compared to a lot of the women that come here. Not saying कि सबकी life same होती है जो यहाँ पे आते हैं, because everybody has their own flavor. But this was very refreshing. Thank you, Hufsa, and thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.